Former Pentagon official Luis Elizondo gave a presentation in Philadelphia at the City Winery at a private event. And in it, he showed a UFO photo from Romania taken a couple years ago. Now, at first glance at this photo, it looks amazing, right? What is this thing in the sky? Luis Elizondo describes it as a mothership, right? Because there is some footage that has leaked out from this event to show Luis Elizondo presenting this photo and some backstory about it.
Real photo. Let me tell you a little bit about this, and then we're going to open this up for some discussion. We were having pilots, military pilots and civilian pilots in Eastern Europe and in the Middle East, report what unimaginably seemed impossible. They described it as literally the mothership, looking like the mothership from Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Now, if any of you ever seen that movie, remember the very end, this huge mini city floating in the sky and turns upside down. It looks. Guess what we caught in Romania in 2022? By the way, the U.S. Embassy. That. Now, is it atmospheric anomaly or something like that? I suppose so. I talked to some of the pilots, and they'll tell you that's what they saw, and they continue to see it. Okay. So there's a whole lot more here, folks. I just want to give you kind of a small taste of what's going on behind the scenes. I have some colleagues here. We're working with members of Congress. We're working within our executive branch. We're working with other allies and partners on this topic. There's a lot going on behind the scenes. A lot of discussion. We've got whistleblowers ready to come out full open kimono. They just need the legal protections. People often ask me, Lou, should I be scared? Yeah, cautious maybe, but I see this as opportunity.
Now, let's pick apart this photo and this video a little bit. Let's start with first this reference to Close Encounters of the Third Kind, because Luis Elizondo describes this mothership as something similar to that. So pilots in the sky are seeing something similar to this, right? Now, if everyone remembers that movie, right, it's one of the most quintessential UFO movies, period, right? One of Steven Spielberg's best, for sure. And I definitely remember this scene, right, of the mothership, and this is when they make contact with them and all of that, right? So it is quite interesting that this is being compared to a mothership in broad daylight. Now, this is where the video is going to get a little interesting. Now, I must preface this by saying that in no way did Luis Elizondo state that this photo is of a UFO. In fact, in the video, it readily admits it could be some sort of atmospheric condition or something like that. It's more of just a reference photo to show this is what a mothership looks like.
Is it atmospheric anomaly or something like that? I suppose so.
But upon closer review of this photo, something was discovered. I must give the next part credit to John Greenwald Jr. of the Black Vault, because without him, I wouldn't have gone down this rabbit trail that I went down. So basically, people are saying that this photo is just a reflection, right? Let me explain. First, let's start with a little bit of background on this picture. If you reverse image search it, you find that it has already been posted on Facebook before. In fact, it got hundreds of thousands of likes and over 30,000 comments or something like that, right? And even people in the comments saying, this is a reflection. And people already on Twitter found exactly where this photo was taken. This supposed sighting took place in Arad, Romania, and if you look at the arrow, that is the apartment building where the picture was taken. Here are the coordinates, and we'll follow the track all the way down to this little thing right here, right, which you can clearly see in the main photo. Boom, there it is. And then this little bush here, you'll see to the side, also coordinates with the picture, and definitely keep that little bush in mind. That did not come out the way I wanted it to. Now let's get to why people think this photo is a reflection. There's a few points in the photo that kind of stand out. One is this little light source by the bush. You'll notice it's in front of the bush, right? And another is this little red spot down here. Both indications of a possible reflection. And the last is, well, this part. Because they think someone's just standing in front of a window and that's their hair that you see right there. So imagine a head, right? That's what that little red outline is. A head right there in the window that's covering part of that mothership up. Some of you are saying, Patrick, this is crazy. That's not a reflection. Others are saying, that's what I saw. So look, for those of you trying to understand this maybe a little bit better, I made this little graphic here. So you've got a light source, a dude with a camera, a window, and then the cityscape, right? And the light basically behind the person gets reflected into the window. Pretty simple. And now that light seems like it's in the city. And of course, now you've got the person standing in front, making it seem like there's something there in the sky. Is that what's going on here? Now, there are many examples of this in real life because John Greenwald showed a few different pictures on Twitter of other examples of this happening, as you can see in these photos I'm showing, right? And fortunately, this phenomena actually has a name. It's called Pepper's Ghost. And here's a short video to help explain a little bit better than I did.
In 1558, Neapolitan scientist Giambattista della Porta outlined the steps to the optical illusion we now know as Pepper's Ghost in his book Magia Naturalis, or Natural Magic. Della Porta described the trick as how we may see in a chamber things that are not. This guy probably crushed at hide-and-seek. To pull off his piece of natural magic, Della Porta advised placing a piece of glass at a certain angle between one's audience and a room. The angled glass must reflect a second off-stage room, a mirrored image of the first room. He called the secondary mirrored stage the blue room, and it had to be either to the side of, below, or above the primary stage. See, sometimes geometry class is applicable to the real world. With no lighting on the blue room, no reflection is visible to the audience, who sees simply the primary stage. But if you light the blue room, reflecting its image onto the glass, it makes the audience see both the first room and the reflection of the blue room within. Place any kind of item or entity into the blue room, blast that light, and well, ghosts your uncle. While Della Porta laid the groundwork for this illusionary ghosty, it took 300 years later for an engineer to refine it into something more.
How about that guy's accent? That was hilarious, right? Anyway, if you're still not convinced, here is a real-world example in action. So it actually looks like that candle is being filled up, right, with water in that glass. And who else has to go to the bathroom? And another thing that is interesting is that Luis Elizondo said that this was taken by the U.S. Embassy. Did I hear that right?
Guess what we caught in Romania in 2022? By the way, the U.S. Embassy. That.
Well, the only problem is we've already established that this was taken at a residential area in Romania. And the U.S. Embassy in Romania is in Bucharest, which is not close. And I did a little bit of digging into light fixtures, right? I couldn't find anything about that exact apartment building where the photo was taken. There's no information I could find online about it. But one right down the street, literally right down the street, I was able to find these photos from this apartment building. And if you notice, they've got light fixtures just like this facing the window, almost identical. So maybe it's just something very common there. I mean, Again, I'm not saying that's definitive, but that is an interesting point. And one last interesting thing about this is, remember that close encounter scene that I showed you before? Well, that was actually shot using techniques very similar to Pepper's ghost, which is kind of interesting, right, when you consider the whole thing. There could have been lots of other people there that saw it, took other photos and videos. Unfortunately, none of those have been presented online, and you figure they would have been, right? Just the one image, which did get shared in a few different spots. But I agree, some more context would help us better understand this, right? And again, Luis Elizondo saying that, we got this, the U.S. Embassy, is he just saying we as America, we as USA? Is he saying what? Him and his crew? I'm not really sure what he means by that. And I think a little bit of explanation about this photo would help. Now, some might say, well, it's a private event, Patrick. It wasn't supposed to get leaked. Well, hang on a second, right? I mean, why can't he present this information publicly, right? Why does it have to be behind this paid event? There could be a very good reason. I'm not accusing anyone of anything. I just find that curious. And again, he's not saying that that's a UFO in the picture, but he is saying that pilots are seeing motherships that look like that. But if it's just a reflection in a window, what are these pilots seeing? I also have to give a special shout out to our vetters, especially in our Discord server, who helped me as well with this. And they also came to the same conclusion that this was a reflection without having, I just showed them the picture, right? Without having any of the knowledge of what John Greenwald and some others on Twitter had put together. And they literally came to the same conclusions and found the same clues. And I find that interesting and compelling, right? So at the end of the day, it's up for you to decide. Think the photo's real or fake? Doesn't matter. Now, before we go, I do want to tell you all about a couple channel announcements real quick. We have started a brand new vetted Spanish channel, so you can get all the vetted videos en español.
Entonces, James Fox tiene un nuevo documental titulado The Program que saldrá más tarde este año y se supone que básicamente solo debe abrir, ¿verdad?, esta idea de que no estamos solos y que hay un programa del gobierno ocultando ese hecho, ¿verdad?
And we've started a German channel. That's right, you can get the vetted news videos in German.
Also, das New Paradigm Institute hatte diesen besonderen Tag, oder? Dieses spezielle Livestream-Event, bei dem sie mehrere verschiedene Sprecher haben würden, und das taten sie. Okay, ich werde unten einen Link zur vollständigen Videobeschreibung setzen. Schaut es euch an. Aber da
God, I sound so good in German, don't I? Yeah. Anyway, as well as a vetted clips channel where you can get some of our live streams and interviews broken down into clips and other things. So please do me a favor. I'm going to put links in the description. Please go subscribe to these channels. Thank you so much for supporting Vetted. I couldn't do it without you vetters. All right, y'all. Hope you enjoyed today's video. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Remember, every day's a gift, y'all. Peace.
I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in the cradles, profanities. I see the world through ice covered in ink and bleach. Cross out the ones who heard my cries and watched me weep.